theme for tonight is viral, and we're doing this in partnership with the Imagine Festival of Politics and Ideas. And it has been about 5 or 6 years since we've been doing these, or during which we've been doing one event every year that's in partnership with the Imagine Festival. The Imagine Festival is a Belfast-based festival that looks at ideas and politics, has debates on democracy, debates on different forms, remembering the past, thinking about the future. It's a fantastic event. I'll drop the link into the festival in case any of you want to check out some of their other events, and you might have gotten some emails from them already. They're brilliant people. So we always love doing work with the Imagine Festival. Our first storyteller is Paul Braziel. His brother told a story a few weeks ago, and afterwards, when we had a bit of a chat together, the two of them were sitting in the chat, and we were hearing that Paul was telling us, was tuning into us that night from a boat. And so Paul is telling us a story tonight, and we're thrilled to have a first-time story from Paul Braziel with his viral story. So work away, Paul, and you're highlighted and unmuted. There you are.
Thank you. It's just water off a duck's back. I'm a big boy now, I'll manage. I can just tune it out, it's fine. These were just a few of the lies I told myself and anyone who asked day after day after day. 4 of us lived in the middle of a small arty town in a nice flat with a balcony overlooking the River Ouse. It had a great view of the pub car park on the opposite bank. It was a popular pub, and in summer it was alive with animated conversation, occasional folk singing, and every now and then a school of Morris men or a drunken brawl. I can never tell those last two apart. I believe one of them involved more handkerchiefs. In winter, it was quieter, just the muted conversation of smokers, huddled under canopies, and the crash of the emptying bottle bins. We still had the folk singing though. The river's tidal and filled with all manner of wildlife, cormorants and gulls, heron, grey mullet by the thousand, and even a seal or two. And for this summer, a trio of men in their late 40s who looked like they may have made a questionable lifestyle choice or two. They'd acquired a rowing boat just after the first lockdown started and anchored it to a ring set in the car park wall where it would bob around, rising and falling, swinging back and forth with the tide until it succumbed to the weight of water entering through holes in its hull, whereupon it would sink to its rowlocks and wallow around in the murky water. The boat was a dilapidated beige fiberglass thing. Like its owners, it looked like it had seen better days and had been round the block a time or two. The car park was empty, the pub shuttered, but these boys would turn up most days, sunshine and shower, sometimes on foot, sometimes in a 1994 Ford Mondeo, maroon metallic paint and optional body-coloured bumpers, but always with a slab of cider. They'd empty the boat at low tide and then sit on the wall looking wistful as the river filled its banks, discussing how best to turn this floating bin into a craft capable of carrying them and their cider upstream in search of summer idyll. When I had the chance, when my housemates' passive-aggressive presence, point in silence, or hostile takeover of the communal area would allow, I'd sit on the balcony and watch as, with a collection of mismatched tools, apparent disregard for the laws of physics, and only a rudimentary knowledge of boats, they began their restoration project. I watched as they bashed the legs off 2 metal chairs they'd nicked from the pub and attempted to mount them on the wooden plank seat, raising the boat's centre of gravity, causing it to almost capsize and heel crazily to starboard as they tried to row it upstream. I watched as they repaired the holes in the bottom of the boat with expanding foam. And again, a day later, when the foam plugs popped out like Prosecco corks as they boarded for another trip. I was in awe of their enthusiasm. It was never dampened by summer showers, failure, or a surfeit of cider. They noticed me watching them, and with a deep nod of their head and a raising of their beverage, a standard male greeting, they welcomed me into their group as a socially distanced member. And in this time of enforced personal and medical isolation, I was happy to be included, however peripherally. They would shout across the river, telling me what they were doing, looking for approval, and occasionally an opinion on their ill-thought-out repairs. I would reply with encouragement and advice while inwardly shuddering at their cack-handed abuse of tools and materials. I'd watch with a mixture of amusement and trepidation as they, a few cans into their afternoon libations, climbed up and down their jerry-rigged ladder or fished around in the shallows looking for whatever tool they'd dropped, anticipating a "you've been framed" style moment that never actually came. The sitcom went on for nearly 3 months. I began to give each event its own little tagline like they did in Friends. The one where Chandler hurts his back and discovers just how heavy a cubic meter of water is. The one where Joey invents new swear words to describe the bored teenagers who'd filled their boat with 3 boxes of damp Argos catalogues. The one where Ross screws his own trousers to the wooden seat. I was elated and disappointed on the day of their maiden voyage. 3 men, 2 cans of cider and a multi-pack of Walker's crisps rowed upstream in search of pastures new. I like to imagine them lying in a meadow somewhere, side by side, spotting familiar shapes in the clouds. By June, I'd had enough of my living arrangements. A pre-lockdown animosity, usually managed by everyone working and rarely crossing paths, had become unbearable. 4 people confined to what felt like an increasingly small flat. One person's toxicity infecting an entire household. No chat, no music, no communal meals, just a sneaking back and forth between bedroom and kitchen and the twisted knot of anger, trepidation and irritation whenever she walked into the room. The constant feeling that somehow, somewhere, I was doing something wrong. I envied the guys with their boat, the communal project, an escape, an anecdote in potentia. A couple of years previously, I'd found myself needing accommodation in a hurry. A work friend offered me his yacht as a temporary measure. I'd loved it. Charlie had been my neighbour in the marina. We'd bonded over a love of Guinness and classic rock and would sit exchanging stories from our respective lives. He, an ex-merchant Navy seaman, me, a touring theatre technician. Different worlds, but surprisingly similar experiences. We'd exchanged a few messages during lockdown. Hope you're keeping sane and healthy. Yeah, it's all good. Can't wait for the pubs to open. Me too. Can't wait to get away from the house, mate. I hear you, mate. I can't wait to leave the house. An unusually deep level of emotional support there from 2 blokes in their 50s. July the 4th, the pubs began to reopen and we could meet friends in beer gardens. I get a message from Charlie. Fancy meeting up for a pint? I have a proposition. We met at a country pub that served good beer and nice food, exchanged fist bumps in lieu of handshakes, and settled in for a pleasant afternoon. We chatted about what had been going on in the world in general and our worlds in particular. I told him about my toxic housemate. He told me about his ailing mother. I told him I was looking for a new place to live as it was driving me mental, and he told me he was selling his yacht as he needed to spend more time caring for his mum. This took us to his proposition. If I could help him prepare the boat for selling, he'd give me first refusal and a mate's rate price. I figured it would still be too expensive for me, but the work sounded fun, and so for a couple of weeks we worked together, cleaning, repairing, painting. The more time I spent away from the oppressive miasma in my flats, the more I realised I needed my own space, my own project, my own potential anecdote. So here I am, 6 months on, sitting on a boat, 47 years old, 33 feet long, ketch rigged, a bit dilapidated and needed some attention. The boat, that is, not me. I'm 55. I've been around the block a few times and made a questionable life choice or 2, but I'm feeling pretty positive. It'll be summer soon. I have some cans of cider in the fridge and a desire to sail off in search of pastures new. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. What a fantastic story. And it's so lovely to see the inside of your boat on your screen there. Wow. How long have you been living on it now?
It's roughly 5 or 6 months. I moved in around about October time. So.
And what's the winter been like? Is it warm enough?
Very cold in places. Couple of weeks were very, very cold. But I've got heaters, so it's not so bad. Yeah. I've got thick skin and a pair of gloves.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. It does sound every and many times better than your previous arrangement, though.
It does, yes. Yeah. Many times better. Thank you.
Yeah. Where do you think you might like to sail over the summer?
Well, when I get the chance, I'm having lessons in how to sail, so I'll be going out and sailing around to Eastbourne or down to Southampton and that kind of circular, as it were. Brilliant. And then eventually I'd like to sail over to France and maybe turn right and head around the coast.
Beautiful. Wow. Well, sometime when you're doing that, you should tell us a story from wherever you're going to be off the coast of France.
Will. Yeah, I certainly will.
Yeah, we'll look forward to that.